Well, today I've come all the way up to North Essex, which for me is about a 3-hour drive, and that is for one reason and one reason only: to fish a fishery called Hilton Valley. Again, it's another fishery I'd have absolutely no idea about if it wasn't for the Catch app, so that's how I booked it. We'll go through all that later in the video, but I'm not going to lie, it is very, very bleak. But in today's sense, that is not a bad thing, because I'm the only one on the lake. It's about 3 acres in size, and apparently it's about 25 different 30s. So I'm going to get everything around there. It's all loaded up on the barrow. Get around there, get set up, and then we'll talk through everything you need to know about this fishery, and hopefully have one of the gems. So now that it's cleared up a little bit, I mean, it's still pretty bleak, but it has cleared up a bit. I'm going to have a little cast around, see if I can find anything. I have been here about probably an hour or so now, and I have had a couple of singles out, just in case. When I was first here chatting with the owner, we did see a couple of fish from this swim. So as soon as I got here, I put singles out, and then I made myself a little bit more at home, because obviously the weather has been pretty grim. But yeah, like I say, now it's cleared up a bit, I'm going to investigate the swim a little bit more. The singles obviously didn't do anything, but what I did pick up from them being out is when I brought them back in, there's actually still quite a bit of weed about. I had one just off the reeds there, opposite me on that little island, and yeah, that came back with quite a bit of weed. And then I had one a little bit further over to the right, again, bit of weed as well. So I'm gonna see if I can find anywhere that's a little bit clearer where I'd seen the fish, which was obviously where I'd put the 2 rods. So whether there's a slightly cleaner area over the back of the weed or this side of the weed, something like that, just see if there's anything notable that I can actually fish for the night. Really, it's only about 1 o'clock now, so we've got 2 or 3 hours of daylight left before getting the rod sorted properly for the night. But I want to make sure I'm fishing in the right area, and I think I'm going to fish 2 different areas. Quite often put 2 rods in the same spot, but I think this time, because I've got the lake to myself, because of the time of year, I'm going to spread out the rods a little bit. So I will, like I say, investigate where I'd seen both fish and just see what it feels like out there. Now supposedly it's a very shallow lake. It's probably only 4 or 5 foot all over, even with the water level being at its kind of highest. Well, that went down with quite a donk actually straight away. And then it does feel like it's pulled into a bit of weed. So yeah, it's quite shallow all over, so there's not really deeper swims and shallower swims, so there's a good chance that the fish can kind of be anywhere. So I think for me today, I'd rather find somewhere comfortable. See, that's super soft. Find somewhere comfortable that I know I can present and be in with a good chance. So yeah, like I say, it's dying off, but there's still weed about out there. So that's what I want to try and avoid really, because it's enough to be a problem. Not really feeling it go down because it's so shallow, but pulling it back, it does feel pretty clean. A little bit gravelly, and then pulls into the dying weed bed. So that's definitely going to be my left rod. So I think what I'm going to do, whilst it is still light, get that left rod out there, get a little bit of bait over it, not too much. I'll probably put about 5 spoms out, and then I know that that rod's sorted. Then I can investigate the right hand side a little bit more. Yeah, that looks good, that does. All right. 12 3/4 wraps. Obviously that's only 10-foot wraps, because I've got my 10-footers with me. So a nice comfortable distance on that left rod. So let's get the actual rod wrapped up, get rig out there, and then just a few spoms of boilies. We have to excuse the mess in here because unfortunately I haven't had time to get everything sorted yet. It was more a case of getting everything set up, keeping everything dry, getting singles out and going from there. But the rig is super simple. I've just clipped it on. It's a little blowback rig, little kicker, and then about 6 inches of quite supple braid. And then hook bait wise, I'm using a boosted hardened hook bait from Baitworks. It's one of the Cremino ones with just a little white topper. So there's a little bit of colour there, or a little bit of kind of brightness, a little bit of attraction, but predominantly it is what is matching what I'm going to be putting out, because I'm going to put out solely boilie, just 15mm Creminos. And like I say, probably about 5 spoms or something to get going. And if I start seeing fish on the spot, if I start catching fish, then I will be topping up. But it's a weird time of year at the moment. We're late November, but we haven't had a proper cold snap. We've had a couple of cold days in the last week, but it hasn't been too bad. So I don't want to be putting loads of bait out, but I do want to put a little bit because they're clearly active. They have been moving about. There's signs of fizzing, actually seen a couple of fish show as well. So they're moving, so there's a good chance of them getting on a little bit of bait. But like I said, I don't want to shoot myself in the foot, put too much in, because we'll talk about stock and everything later. There's not loads in here, but there's a good enough number that a little bit of bait isn't going to do any harm. So let's get this out there and then we'll work out what's going on the right hand side. I've actually had a little bit of a change of plan. The left rod, or what was going to be the left rod, I've now moved over to the right. So my right hand spot is what you saw me put out just then. But the left hand rod is going on the very corner of the island. I was casting back towards the right, couldn't really feel a great deal. There was quite a bit of weed over that way as well. Whereas I was just trying the channel between the island and the bank. And right tight on the corner of that island is a really nice gravelly area. So it feels super clean, and obviously fish love islands, so there's a good chance of them holding against the island this time of year. So I think that is definitely a spot I'm going to put the left hand rod on. Again, I'm going to put probably 5 spawns or so, just so I've got a bit of bait there. I've got a bit of bait kind of off the island as well. So if they are in this area, they're going to be mooching around and they'll see the same sort of bait in both areas. So fingers crossed, that is what's going to do it. I thought I'd just do a quick update because the last you saw of me, I just found that spot for my left hand rod and I was about to put it out and about to put some bait out. I did that, I didn't film it because the rain came in and it was tipping it down, and obviously cameras and rain don't really mix that well. But I got it out and they've been out for probably about an hour and a half now. It's eased up a little bit, it's still spitting around, but it's getting dark already. It's only about 3 o'clock in the afternoon and yeah, it's getting dark already, but I thought I'd just update you with what was happening. And yeah, to be honest, not a great deal, but I'm all set for the night. I've got bait on both areas. The ducks have been diving down a little bit, which is a bit frustrating. So I might put out 2 or 3 spawns just after dark because they have been, yeah, they've been quite on it. So I imagine half the bait that I've put in is probably gone already. So I'll do a couple of spawns over each spot after dark. And that's about it really. I'll tell you a bit more about the fishery, about obviously catch and everything tomorrow. But today's just been a bit of a write-off because of the weather. So if anything happens overnight, obviously I will get the lights out and I'll show you. I'm hoping it does. It feels good for it. Like I said earlier, with a massive pressure drop and the fact that it's had a very slight cold snap and it's a little bit warmer now, although it doesn't feel like it because you might have noticed I've moved my bivvy around, and that's because the wind was coming across and it was freezing. So just before it gets too dark and horrible, I'm going to quickly talk you through the Catch app. Now I mentioned at the start that that is how I booked this session, but I've been delving into the app a little bit more recently and I'm quite enjoying what I'm seeing. I didn't realise quite how involved it was. So obviously going into the app, you can search where you want to fish. And today we're at Hilton Valley. So you go onto that and it tells you all the information. Now I'll tell you all of this tomorrow when it's a bit nicer out there. But yeah, it tells you everything you need to know about the lake, tells you facilities, what sort of stock there are, about all the different lakes, things like that, and then prices, and then you can obviously book tickets through that, which is how I've booked this session. But what I didn't realise is coming back off that, you can report all your catches, which hopefully I'll be doing in the morning. There's an activity tab, which basically shows activity of all your favourite venues. So you can easily favourite a venue by go into it. So if we do Hilton Valley again, oh, my fingers aren't working in this cold. Go onto that, and then in this top corner, there's a little heart. So you simply tap that, and then that favourites your venue. So if I come back off this, go onto my profile, you can see all your favourite fisheries. So this is some that I've been to, some that I'd like to go to. And then, yeah, basically you can go onto the activity tab, and then it tells you updates that the fishery has put on, which is really good. So Broadlands is obviously an offer they're doing over winter. So yeah, it's really cool. But the other thing I saw as well is the leaderboard. So this obviously links into you guys uploading your catches, and it works really well. So you can there's an overall leaderboard of all species, and you can look at the biggest weight that has ever been caught and then recorded on the Catch app, which is J. Palmer, Angler's Paradise, catching a catfish of 64 pound and 2 ounces. You can also then go into the quantity, so who's reported the most catches, and that is Neil Wrigley from Acorn Carp Fishery. But you can also break it down and you can really target just the fish that you're interested in. So if you want to see who's caught the most common carp through the app, of course, that is Neil Wrigley again. He's had 60 common carp, but then you can look at the biggest weights as well. So then that way you can see there the top 3 fish have all come from Berners Hall. So if you're hunting for, or if you're going out and you really want to catch the biggest common carp you can find, then Berners Hall is going to be a good option. Again, if say it's mirror carp, I can scroll down, got mirror carp there. Obviously, France is going to take the lead on that. But again, top 3 from England, all Berners Hall as well. So if you are looking for the biggest fish from a lake on the Catch app, then Berners Hall is going to be the one to go for. So it's really cool that you can do that. I feel like Catch are building quite a community with people uploading all their catches and that sort of thing. And then, like I say, you can go back into quantities, or you can just see all species and just have an overall view on people catching. So yeah, it's really nice that it's more than just booking a fishery or finding information about a fishery. You can really go into it, you can be a part of something. So yeah, I just wanted to bring that to your attention because I didn't know about it, even though I've been using the Catch app for ages. So it's nice that, yeah, I found it interesting, so I thought you guys might find it interesting too. But that brings us on to now. It's dark, it's bleak, it's horrible, it's freezing. So I'm going to sign out for the night, and hopefully something will happen overnight and I will catch up with you in the morning. Well, good morning. As you can probably imagine, last night was pretty nondescript. I had a few liners here and there, a few of them to make me poke my head out and shine the head torch on and see what was going on, but nothing to actually make me get out of the bag, which was a good thing because it was very, very cold. But I'd rather have caught something. But today's a different day, a very different day, because it's meant to be sunny, clear skies, no rain, no drizzle, wind's dropped right off, and I've still got a good few hours left here. So hopefully, I'm not going to touch anything because I don't think I need to. I don't think, other than the birds diving down a little bit, I don't think anything's actually visited the areas that I've put bait in. So I know they're going to be presented. I'm not going to recast anything. I'd rather just keep everything very low key. And if they do move on to it, then I know that I'm set up and I've got a chance of a bite. I'm not going to put any more bait out because I don't think the birds went diving enough to have cleared out what I put out. So it's very much a day of sitting put or staying put, I think. See what the morning brings. It's just gone 7 now. The moon's still out. It's still very, very cold. But we'll see what happens. And let me get this coffee down me. Let it get a little bit brighter so I don't have to use a video light. And then I will tell you everything about this fishery because it's a really cool place. And it's definitely somewhere that I'd like to visit again. And possibly even come for the day at some point if I'm in the area, because the other lake is a bit more of a runs water, which I'm half tempted to move on to for the day, but I know that I've got to get a bit of filming done because it was so wet yesterday I didn't really get that much done. So let's see what happens. Just watching a kingfisher in a tree, just sitting there. Anyway, coffee down me and I'll tell you about this place. I thought I'd do this bit here in the hope that something might happen whilst I'm sat next to the rods. But to be honest, I'm not holding out too much hope. I have had a couple of liners on the right rod and I have seen a tiny bit of fizzing over towards where that rod is. So you never know, but it is very, very cold still. So I just thought I'd take this time to tell you pretty much everything you need to know about Hilton Valley Fishery. First of all, it's a very, very cool place. I do really like it here. I definitely want to come back in the warmer months. And it's located in the Colne Valley, so North Essex. I think it's Holstead. I'm probably saying that completely wrong. So a bit of a trek for me, but it's quite a nice central location in the country. And it's actually over 40 years old, which shows there's loads of really nice, mature, big oaks around here, and the actual fishery itself does look nice and mature, but it's also well maintained as well. So there's gravel paths to every single swim on the complex. I say complex because there's actually 3 different lakes here, which we'll touch upon in a little bit. But yeah, there's gravel paths all the way around everything. There's gravel swims, but it's not thick gravel. Sounds a bit weird, but it's just a top layer of gravel. And basically that means that underneath this, it's still quite soft. It's easy to get pegs in the bivvy. So imagine getting bank sticks and things like that in would also be nice and easy. The swims themselves, no matter what lake you're on, are a decent size. They're all kind of dug out slightly, so you've got your own area. It's not just a bit of bank. And they've got sleepers towards the back, kind of giving you that area. And every single swim is kitted out with a net, an unhooking mat, and a weigh sling. So don't bother bringing your own because they are in every single swim. It's actually part of the fishery rules that you use the ones that are on site. So there's no point even bringing them because they just end up sat in the van the whole time. Now, like I say, there are 3 different lakes on this complex. And today I am on one called Colne Lake. This is more the specimen lake out of the 3 on here. And originally this started off at just 1/3 of an acre until Darren, who's the current owner, got his hands on it. He basically dug everything out, and he's made it about 3 acres in total. Now, I'm not 100% sure if that's 3 acres of water or 3 acres including the islands. I'd say including the islands, but that's good because that means there's less water for the fish to hide in. Stock-wise in this lake, it's pretty good. Now, there's only about 60 fish, but of those 60 fish, 25 of them are said to be over £30, which is why I was really hoping to get amongst them today, because there's a good chance of having a 30. When I was speaking to Darren yesterday when I got here, he said that there's only actually been 3 fish under £20 out of this lake this year, which I think is a pretty bold statement, but that says a lot for the stock. But the nice thing with the stock as well, they're not just big fish, they're all really good looking fish. So if you have a look on the Catch website or the app, you can scroll through a load of photos. I'll put a couple up as well, but they are proper cool fish. And certain fish in here, certain ones that have come out £37, £38 in the past, haven't actually been out for a year, 2 years. There's a good chance of it doing a couple of 40s. Now, it's quite nice that they're not claiming there's 40s in here because they haven't been on the bank at that size. I know a lot of fisheries think, oh, well, that hasn't been out for 5 years, so it must be a 40, so we say there's a 40. Darren seems a pretty down-to-earth, honest guy about the stock. So yeah, it's really nice that there are good fish to go at and potentially lake records swimming about behind me. But going back to the swims, there's 9 swims on this lake. So 9 swims in 3 acres. So every single swim has a good amount of water, and every swim has got different features. There's overhanging trees, there's islands, there's bars, there's pretty much anything you can think of. So in every single swim, there is something different to fish at. Now, the lake just next to me over that side is Cobblins Lake. Now, these lakes are very close together. They're just separated by a single walkway, and Cobblins Lake is more the runs water of the complex. There's about 150 fish in there. I don't know the actual size of it, but I guess I'd say it's between 2 to 2.5 acres in size. So obviously you've got more fish per acre, and therefore you've got a greater chance of catching something. Now, obviously the sizes in there are a bit smaller. They average somewhere between 10 to 18 pound, and there are a few 20 pounders as well. So if you're looking for more of a bite, then that's definitely the lake to go for. Might have been the better choice for me making this video, but when there's a good amount of 30s behind me, I'd rather take my chances. Now, the nice thing about Cobblins is, even though it's more of a runs water and a slightly more commercial style lake out of the 2, there's still plenty of room per angler. So yeah, it's a little bit smaller, but then there's only 7 swims around the lake. So you're still getting pretty much the same amount of water as what you'd be getting on this one. Now, the final lake on the complex is just behind the cameras over a little bridge, because you've got the River Colne, I believe it is, running alongside this, but it also feeds through these lakes, which I think is why the fish grow on so well. But yeah, the final lake on the complex is Show's Pond, and it's the oldest lake on here. So I say the fishery is about 40 years old. That's how long they've been running for and operating for. But that lake behind me, or in front of me behind you, is actually estimated to be around 120 years old. So it's a super old, really established lake. Stock-wise, at the moment, there's only 18 fish in there, but most of them are mid-doubles, with the exception of a 25-pound common and supposedly a 40-pounder. So a 40-pounder in 40 acres, and you've got a 1 in 18 chance of catching it, in theory. I didn't know this until after I'd plotted up, but that is a very tempting proposition. Now, if you want the chance of that 40-pounder to be 1 in 18, then I'd probably say get down here quite quick, because a few more fish are going to be stocked into there. I think it's about 12 to 15 more mid-doubles are going in there. but that lake has only just been opened to be fishable to the public as well. So if you want your chance of a 40 pounder, I'd probably get down here pretty quickly. Facility wise, there is a toilet and shower block on site. So if you're doing a longer session and you want to freshen up halfway through, that is an option. Or if it's this time of year and you just want to warm up, then that is quite tempting as well. I kind of wish I brought some shower stuff with me so I could warm up before the way home, but I didn't, unfortunately. And like I say, there is also the nets, mats and waste things all provided. So I think that probably rounds off everything you need to know about the fishery. Now, obviously you can book it through Catch. That's why I'm down here in the first place. So make sure you head over to the Catch website to find out all the individual rules and things like that. But to be honest, they're pretty sensible rules. I had a look through them myself. I think the only thing to really note is obviously the equipment that they supply and the fact that there's no nuts, no pellet or anything like that. So no nuts, no pellet, no particle. So fairly sensible rules. It's just a guy that wants to look after his fish. Well, unfortunately, it is a wrap. Didn't happen this time, but I do definitely want to come back because the stock of fish that are in that lake is a little bit ridiculous. So I'll definitely be coming back in the summer months. Maybe I'll do a part 2 of this for Catch, but I'm out of breath because that barrow is actually a lot heavier than it seems. And I think I've got quite a flat tyre, so that doesn't help things. But yeah, it's been good down here. It's been cold, it's been hard work, and I thought it might have happened after getting a few liners and seeing a couple of fizzes this morning, things like that, but yeah, it hasn't happened. But definitely, if you are interested, check out the Catch app or on the Catch website. There's all the information, all the rules, everything you need to know about this place. So thanks Catch for allowing me to come down here, make this video. Thanks to Hilton Valley again for allowing me down here, and thanks to you guys for watching. Hopefully you've enjoyed it, even though it has been a fishless piece. Hopefully you found out loads of information and it might be another venue on your radar to explore. But we'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching once again. Subscribe if you do like this sort of content. Make sure you like it and do all the things like that. Find us on our various social media channels. And I will see you guys in the next one.